We have a very famous machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. How do we light Chanukkah menorah? Do we begin with one light and end up with 8 lights, or do we begin with 8 lights and end up with 1 light? Now, in the Maimer from the Rebbe, Tana Rabbanan Mitzvos Ner Chanukah, from Tafshin Lamed Ches, the Rebbe brings down that why does Beis Shammai say we should do 8 and then 7 and then 6? Because it's Keneged Parei Chag, it's Keneged the bulls. The bulls, famously, every day of Sukkot, they would bring a certain amount of bulls Keneged the 70 nations. These bulls were these in the Beis Hamikdash. They were for the 70 nations. So it was Keneged Parei Chag. That's why. So we start with 8, just like there were 8 cows the first day and 7 cows. So we go. We start with 8 and go down. And Beis Hillel says, no, we start with 1 and go to 2 and 3. Why? The Ma'ila Mekaydish. When you're elevating, you always elevate. You always go from down to up, higher up. You always have to increase in light. So we take things down to the root of what we're looking at. I believe is the mitzvah of, mitzvahs in general, I guess in this case, but specifically the mitzvah of Chanukah. Is it about us elevating ourselves? Or is it about us spreading light out to the world? Let me explain. L'mayla Mekodesh is about us. We raise ourselves up in Kodesh. Keneged Parei Chag is specifically connecting the mitzvah of Chanukah to the 70 nations. And as we know, one of the most important aspects and elements of Chanukah is Persumei Nitza, is spreading out the, expanding the light, spreading out the light, sharing the light, publicizing the light. So, where is the focus? Right now, in Golus, we're in the darkness, so we have to work on igniting our own light, and elevating our own light, and raising ourselves up. So that's why we paskin like Beis Hillel. And that's why, the focus has to be on, or a large part of the focus, at least for history, has been on elevating ourselves and working on ourselves. However, we know when Mashiach comes, we're going to paskin like Beis Shammai, not like Beis Hillel. And instead we're going to start with 8 and go down and down. Which means it's specifically connected with the other nations. It's not about us. It's about them. That's why it's Keneged Parei Chag. It's more intrinsically connected with the nations of the world, which is what Mashiach is. Mashiach is how Yiddishkeit becomes unified with the world and becomes, the one and only truth, which everybody intuitively appreciates and follows. Right now, we're at Ikvasei de Meshicha, which means we have to start working on already expanding that light out to the world, the nations. The Rebbe says, which is terrifying, the Rebbe said that had we as Yidden done a better job of teaching the Goyim about Sheva Mitzvahs, the Holocaust would never have happened. There was another story I had, where I was by a concert in Eretz Yisrael, and the singer, Erlich Yid, he came up to me, he said, we were schmoozing before the concert. He says, I have a story I want to tell you, but I want to say it on stage for everyone to hear. Okay, Zalzain. He told me he was living in California, and he had this Goyish neighbor, some white guy, and one day this Goyish neighbor comes knocking on his door. He's a little nervous, afraid of him somewhat. Yeah, can I help you? I need to talk to you, Rabbi, outside. Okay, he comes out to his front lawn, a little skittish, and the guy starts breaking down and crying. He says, my father was a Nazi. Please, Rabbi, I need you to forgive me. Please, please forgive me for what my father did. And of course, he embraced him. He said, it wasn't you. It says specifically, we don't punish the sins of the father. We don't punish the father for the sins of the son, and the son for the sins of the father. But then he said, Rabbi, why didn't you teach us better? Why didn't you teach us better? So just to give you a taste of what we're like and where we're at. So I know the Rebbe made a few initiatives for mitzvahs, Sheva mitzvahs. I heard the community wasn't quite as receptive to doing it. I did hear from a big name that even at one point the Rebbe wanted Yidden to be mashpiyim for Goyim in terms of, in terms of, I think specifically the mitzvah was building families, learning how to keep communities together. And it's actually quite interesting because we have the data now. The worst thing for a society are single parents. Single parents breeds the most amount of crime. And interestingly, it actually has to do, it's not about parent households, it's about communities. Single parent communities are what breed the most amount of crime in a community. And so, meaning to say, you're better off being a child in a community where most of your friends, most of your people in the community have two-parent homes, as opposed to a child in perhaps a two-parent house, but most of your other friends don't have, aren't coming from a two-parent home. So yeah, just I guess somewhat of a digression, but the point is, here's the point. Chanukkah is about spreading the light, and right now, we have to appreciate the idea that Torah and mitzvahs, we start by elevating ourselves, and then we have to learn to spread it to others. Very similarly, I believe you could say about the Baal Shem Tov, he was the prototype of what a Yid from Mashiach is like. This is, if you want to know what it looks like to be a Yid living in Mashiach Zeiten, look at the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov is a very good example. Although it says about the Alter Rebbe was an Neshama Chadasha, his mamish, but the Baal Shem Tov was, really, 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 this is what it means to live with Mashiach Zeiten, the Baal Shem Tov. Wow, the Baal Shem Tov. Anyway, it says about the Baal Shem Tov in his previous Gilgul, he was a tremendous tzaddik, tremendous tzaddik. And however, he never shared his tzidkus with anyone, never shared his lamdus with anyone, he never taught anybody else the Torah he learned. He never shared his light, essentially. He kept it all for himself. So Hashem told him, you're coming back down, and this time your mission in life is to share with others. Because goodness that you keep all for yourself is no goodness at all. Goodness that you share with others, that's true goodness. Have a wonderful day, everyone.